Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Coffee in Hand. I'm your host, Erica Lamberto. Today, sitting with me is Mary Yetter. She is the founder of Matrescence, and I'm so excited to have you with me today, Mary.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, you originally are from Florida.
Yes, I am.
So, can you talk to me about your experience there?
Sure. So I am born and raised in a town called Clearwater, which is just outside of the Tampa Bay area. So actually a place where a lot of people up here vacation to. You can get a direct flight. So easy access. But I grew up there my entire childhood, close to the beach. I am the second of three children. So I have an older brother and a little sister. So middle child. And had a really lovely childhood, just growing up, playing sports, going to the beach, getting my education there. And then when I graduated high school, I went to a state college in Florida in Orlando and then moved to Miami, Florida for about 7 years, where I had my first job. I met my husband at my job. And that brought us to Houston, Texas for a very brief moment before we landed here in the New Hartford area in 2019, shortly before the pandemic. So, for myself, it was a big move because we were living in bigger cities. But over time, I really came to love being part of a small town community. We made really good friends before the pandemic, which was really pivotal, a pivotal moment in time. And we started our family here. So we have three young children, a 3.5-year old, a 2.5-year old, and a 1.5-year old. And when we started having our children, I came to be a stay at home mom, a full time mom. And it was a very transformative time in my life, going from a career to being home with my kids full time, and has kind of inspired the work that I'm doing now.
No, that's incredible. I was gonna say we also had like a big move from like a big city to a small town,
Mm.
because me and my husband moved from Las Vegas. We moved during the pandemic, so kind of similar circumstances. And yeah, it is an adjustment. I feel like especially if you have lived somewhere your entire life and you're used to kind of like the faster pace and just different things, and then obviously like moving and then slowing down and having a life change of, like, welcoming children and then career changes. It's definitely a big adjustment. And I know you were saying, so you becoming a mother and switching from, like, being, full-time career to stay-at-home mom kind of helped inspire your business now.
Mhm.
If you wanna share kind of what that experience was like and how that inspired the work you do now.
Sure. So I was working in a large corporate setting doing marketing, branding, design in the restaurant space, and did that for close to a decade. And knew I had always wanted to be a stay at home mom. I was raised by a stay at home mom. I have a wonderful relationship with my mother and my siblings and my family, and really admired her for what she did for us as children growing up. And I wanted to be able to emulate that in a very similar fashion. And I was used to, in my job, having a lot of independence. I was managing big teams and big budgets, and I was always an independent child, and I got to make decisions for myself and had a lot of autonomy. So, entering into motherhood, I wasn't necessarily prepared for the shift that I was going to experience of having that independence and autonomy and welcoming children, especially in such a quick manner, for that to kind of just get flipped on its head. And I just had a really intense initiation in thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm a totally different person. I'm not sure who I am anymore because my full time is on care for these little young human beings. Um, I don't really know what has happened to myself in the process. So, in that questioning of what has happened to me since becoming a mom and the change of kind of the freedom, for lack of better words, and welcoming children and that flipping on its head, I did a lot of I call it like soul searching and researching. I knew something had changed. I didn't know what it was, and I needed kind of some time to like sit and think with it. And through researching, identity changes in motherhood, I landed on the language of matrescence, which describes the ongoing transformation that a woman experiences when she enters into and moves through motherhood. So think like adolescence,
Mhm.
but for moms. So this is not it's not new language. It's actually something that's existed in academia for decades and decades, for over 50 years. And it's just kind of sat dormant for a really long time. And over the last decade or so, a lot of researchers have picked up on this language, and it's really just getting pushed into cultural conversation now. So when I heard matrescence and what it was, and that women go through these identity shifts and emotional changes, and every aspect of their life is impacted when they become a mom, their relationships, themselves physically, emotionally, hormonally, all these different areas are impacted. I was like, oh my gosh, how have I never heard of this before? Because this is exactly how I feel. And when I didn't have a way to describe how I was feeling, I kind of felt isolated and alone in that experience because um, I dreamt it up motherhood to be this like beautiful fairy tale. And of course, I love my children deeply and I love the role that I have. Uh, but it's really hard. It was a lot
Yes.
harder than I thought I was going to be. And really uncovering that language kind of just opened my eyes to not feeling alone. And it lifted a weight off my shoulders. And when I learned about it, it just kind of hit me all at once. Like, I need to help spread awareness of this and just inform as many women as possible because all women entering into and moving through motherhood experience matrescence. Um, so I went about finding a certification to become certified as an educator and facilitator to be able to help support women through the same um, journey that I had and am still having.
Yeah. Well, I know when we sat down, obviously being a mom myself,
Mhm.
I relate so much to that experience. And I had never heard of that term. And I feel like just sitting with you, it's like very educating.
Mhm.
And I feel like so many women can relate to those emotions. And you go through like this shift of like your identity and who are you once you become a mother, and it's so easy to get lost in your children and just your role of being their mother. And then it's like, but we're more complex than that. We have a role outside of being a mother and like our internal needs as a human being as well.
Mhm.
And, there's a lot of guilt in that and like transitioning in that stage because it isn't a lack of loving your children that emotion comes from. I think it's just you as a person needing to feel whole and fulfilled and trying to navigate your way through finding that fulfillment.
Yeah.
Obviously, not only through your children, but through things in life that also bring you joy.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's probably so many women that do feel so isolated and alone, and having a resource like you that can come in and speak with them and help guide them through that chapter or, part of their life, I think is a wonderful, wonderful thing to have.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are so right in the complexity. We are so complex,
Mm.
and oftentimes we enter into the experience of motherhood through a very like societal and cultural lens, and we have these expectations put on ourselves by um, external experiences, what we see on social media, what we experience in our own families, and then our internal experiences of ourselves, what we expect out of it, what we are assuming it might be like, and oftentimes the expectations don't meet reality. So when that clashes, you do begin questioning, like, gosh, there has to be something wrong with me. And I think the beautiful thing about understanding matrescence and now being able to share what it is and simply provide the language or simply a word, it it can just release a lot of, for lack of better words, tension or like you said,
Mhm.
guilt and shame that you may carry because it's not just you. Um, many women are moving through this experience, and you experience motherhood in many different ways, and everybody has a very different journey, and there's many different ways in and out and all around. But the one thing that is common is that we all experience matrescence, and with those emotions, they can fill a spectrum, and that's normal. Um, and having the support available through resources and language and knowing the right way to approach someone to talk about it if you're feeling alone or isolated is so important. And it's a really exciting time because there is awareness building around what this is, and hopefully can help a lot of women. And you were saying, you had never heard of it before. There's a statistic that it's like 67% of women have never heard of matrescence.
Which is wild to think about because you said it's, like, in a similar field to, like, a doula, which
Yeah.
is I feel like you would ask, like,
Yeah.
1 out of 10 women,
Mhm.
probably 9,
Yeah.
right? Would at least, if not all
Yeah.
10 would
Yeah.
know what a doula is.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, so
yeah.
a brief, like, history lesson on the term matrescence. It was coined in 1973 by a medical research anthropologist. Her name is Donna Raphael. It is the same woman who coined the term doula at the same time. And the concept of a doula really took off, and it's something that most people have awareness of these days. And matrescence just kind of sat in academia for a really long time. And what Donna Raphael noticed, she was studying like motherhood and breastfeeding cultures. And through that research, she realized there's something more that I'm observing, more than just a physical change. These mothers, these women, they're changing emotionally and psychologically. And there's so much more happening outside of what we just perceive her experience to be. Um, and in the early 2000s, this language was found in a book by a research psychologist. And she picked up and started doing more work on it and is really kind of paving the path to getting it into the forefront of cultural conversation. Her name is Dr. Aurelie Athan, and she is a teacher at Columbia in New York City. And she's doing really wonderful work to just try to help spread awareness and do the research and, um, get the point across of women are changing in many ways through becoming mothers.
Well, and like you were saying, you know, everyone each, like, person, individual mother has, like, a different experience, and
Mhm,
I feel like you do have, like, a lot of opinions going into motherhood, and most of the opinions you get are from other moms and about
mhm,
their experiences.
mhm,
But like you said, I feel like nothing can really prepare you for, childbirth
mhm,
or motherhood because everyone has unique experiences.
mhm,
So having an option that makes you feel supported and seen and like you have a community around you, I feel like is a game changer.
mhm,
I know for me myself, I did have like difficulty like going into that change of having a full-time career and then
mhm,
becoming a mom and, um, I love so much being home with my daughter. I think more of the challenges came when I had my second one
mhm,
and then figuring out how to shift from being just a stay-at-home mom and going back to working and the guilt of, like, my second child's experience is different from my first, and there's just so many different things that you can go through and different emotions you can feel that I think it's just most important for women to feel, like, seen and supported,
mhm.
and, like, they can just go somewhere and share with other women who are in similar circumstances.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, you put that
Just
so well. Yeah, being seen and supported. Most of the women that I speak with, they're not looking for solutions. They just want to have a place to be seen and to be heard and to be met with like, I feel the same way. Oh my gosh, you too? Like, I am having the same experience or I'm having this similar experience. I think so often the default mode is to move immediately into problem solving. And oftentimes with these emotions, the change in emotion, your change in identity, you're just looking for an outlet to share and be safe and feel safe in sharing that, and just be met with care. And The beautiful thing about the Mohawk Valley region is that we actually have incredible maternal care um, systems in place by way of midwife care, OBGYN care, lactation care, doula care, pelvic floor therapy care, all these physical facets of care available for women. However, there's very limited awareness of that care existing. So there's certainly work to be done to spread awareness of what women have the optionality to have provided to them through pregnancy, postpartum, and well beyond. And in addition to that, the importance of kind of the emotional care. You know, you get pregnant and you start reading the books because you want to learn. At least this was my experience. I was
What
reading
to expect when expecting.
yes, all the books that you want to read about your pregnancy, and then it's labor and delivery, and then it's about raising a newborn. And it's almost like right off the bat, all the focus goes to the baby. And with that, attention leaves the mother. And when the mother experiences when the mother goes through this experience, both pregnancy-wise, bringing the baby earthside and postpartum and beyond, when she's not being checked on, she just kinda gets pushed in the shadows, and, there wasn't, in my experience, a lot of knowledge or awareness that that was even gonna happen. You kind of forget about yourself right from the beginning because it's always the health of the baby and how smooth was the delivery for the baby and how's the baby doing, and you get a couple, like, "How's mom?" Um, but the very routine check-in and support and the fact that you will be changing or going through kind of like a second puberty, another round of adolescence through this matrescence experience, it's certainly something I wish I had the awareness of before I became a mother. Um, so my goals, my objectives are just to find ways to further amplify and support those existing care systems in place who are already supporting mothers to say, "Hey, this exists." Like, take this language, find ways to integrate it into the work that you're doing to provide for moms because you're already you already have the access to them and they need you. And simply by you providing the language, you don't have to have the in-depth knowledge. You could just open their eyes to this sense of relief. Um, so I think that's very exciting.
That is very exciting. I know you were talking about, so obviously it's not only physical changes, it's mental
Mhm.
changes. And I know you talked to me about different partnerships and things that you were working on. Is there anything exciting you want to share in that realm of any like upcoming partnerships
Sure,
or
sure. I'd love to share. So, in about a week, I will be at a women wellness fair called the For Her Expo, which is being hosted by a local pelvic floor therapist, where she will be offering some pelvic floor education classes, yoga classes, and then after the fact, there's going to be a women in business vendor fair with women ranging from the wellness space to permanent jewelry to baked goods to lactation consultants and maternal support, and she's really just done a great job of trying to bring together different women-owned businesses in the area to um, gather and have an event for other women, which will be really fun. And I have recently completed what I'm calling a practitioner's guide to matrescence, which is ultimately a guidebook that is meant to be provided to any sort of maternal care provider in the area, whether you are a pediatrician, or you are a lactation consultant, or you own a yoga studio, or you are a counselor and you want to learn a little bit more about what matrescence is and how it can further deepen the support you're already providing. I created that as a resource to be able to just get people access to learning what it is matrescence can do for them and the women that they're serving, which is very exciting because that's been a long time in the making. And then this summer, I'm hoping to start offering some more regular spaces for moms to gather. Like I said, we have a lot of incredible kind of like prenatal and immediately postpartum resources available in the area, but um, there's a lack of from that later postpartum period and beyond, a lack of support, I feel like that's available or optionality for women to participate in. So my hope is to really kind of create spaces for women to be able to gather and share and feel safe and heard and cared for. So there are a couple of different practitioners in the area that I'm in the works of scheduling something special with each of them and being able to serve their clientele in unique ways that support and help with that emotional side while also integrating the work that they're already doing with the women that they're caring for.
And if someone did want to, work with you, where would they what's the best way to get in contact with you? Like, if you have social media,
Sure.
website, email address, anything that you wanna share?
Sure. So, my website is mymatrescence.com. And because I'm sure nobody has heard the word matrescence before, I'm going to spell it for you. It is Matrescence. And you can find me on Instagram at m.y.matrescence. And this makes me think of just a fact to share. So, matrescence, the word matrescence is not included in any American dictionary as of right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that wild? So you go to type it in to your Word document or to your iPhone,
Autocorrect?
it's going to try to autocorrect to things like mattress or I've gotten some very silly things, but
Yes.
like I said, this is something that's existed for a long time and it's just barely starting to be recognized. So there's a lot of opportunity here and if you're someone who has never heard the term before and you know someone who is a mom or is thinking about becoming a mom, share this information with them because it can make a really big difference as they move into their motherhood journey because um, you change in a beautiful way. But it can be beautifully messy and chaotic and all the things at one time. And um, feelings can coexist, and that's okay. And that's normal.
And just on that, what is, like, the most rewarding part of starting this business for you so far? If are you if there's more than one thing, if it's, like,
Yeah.
specific, like working with a specific client?
Yeah, I think I'll say 2 things. I think for me personally, what's been rewarding is getting back into work in a way that is very mission driven and value led. When you become a mom, you certainly go through this like realignment of your personal values. Um, and being able to now step into a space where I'm supporting women through their journeys and can help um, improve their understanding of their experience, I think is wonderful and very fulfilling in that way for me. And um, I think one of the greatest things is simply just by saying the word matrescence and providing a woman with a definition and just seeing like the relief on their face, like, "Oh, I have never heard of this, but I totally get what it is huge.
Well, I was gonna say, and that's also, like, giving you an identity
Yeah.
in a time when
Mm.
you might be lacking or feeling lacking of,
Yeah.
like I said, an identity outside of being a mom and, like,
Yeah.
what your self-worth is
Yes.
and navigating that. So I think just that on its own,
Hmm.
I think probably does bring relief and
Yeah. And
comfort too. Yeah.
reminding the woman that you are a mom, but
Mhm.
you are Mary. You are a mom, but you are also Erica. Like you are wrapped up into this identity and it is complex, but
And
you
you're
know,
still valued as a person.
you're still valued as a person and it can be easy to lose yourself as part of the process. But what's important is reminding yourself that um, you can have time for you and you don't have to feel guilty about it. Um, because you are a person as well. Yeah.
And what is one of your favorite things to do when you're not focused on work or just being a mom? What's your favorite thing to do outside of building your beautiful business?
Sure. Well, I spend a lot of time with my family, but I'll give you what I enjoy doing when I'm me solo. I enjoy a lot of quiet time and just being outside in nature, going for walks, going for a run. Um, it's unique living somewhere where we have such long winters now, and I grew up where I could be outside every day.
Yeah, running in the
Um,
winter is probably not as much
yes,
fun.
yes, yes.
The snow.
But learning the right ways to just get out and get some fresh air has been so nice for me. So I shockingly have enjoyed shoveling my driveway when there's snow on it because it's a nice way to plug in and listen to music and just be in the fresh air and get some exercise.
There you go. Positive spin on our, like, winter
Yeah.
that this year felt like was never ending.
Yes. Yeah,
We're just
exactly.
now getting to spring. And then I know you obviously you spend a lot of time with your family. What's your
Mm.
favorite thing to do with your family?
Oh gosh, we have a typical Saturday morning routine with the family when the weather is nice, where we live close by to the coffee shop. So we'll jump in the wagon and typically bring the wagon down here to the coffee shop and we'll get some coffee and our kids will get a chocolate milk and then we'll walk to the park at the elementary school and play at the park for a while before heading home and everyone's tuckered out for a nap time. And that's
Like,
like a
it's
typical
perfect.
Saturday for our family. Yeah.
And on that note, before I, end the podcast, I always ask my guests, what is your go-to coffee drink?
It is a good question. My go-to coffee drink will always contain ice.
Yes.
However, I kind of bounce back and forth with what I like in my cup. I um have exclusively been like a black coffee drinker for a long time, so I'm typically just drinking cold brew. But lately I have been enjoying iced cortados, getting a little more milk back in.
Well, I just wanted to thank you so much for joining me today. Just some fantastic information that I hope our listeners will just make them feel less alone if they are like new to their motherhood journey
Mhm.
or even farther along,
Yeah,
just continuing to grow their family.
yeah,
I think it's wonderful information, and I'm wishing you the best.
yeah. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And we'll catch you next month.